we're one of them. And then probably Angela, and then Caitlin and Luis is what I would imagine. I'm wearing my fancy shirt tonight.
Yes, you are,
All
man.
right.
Looking good.
Thank you. It's already recording, which is so funny. I love that it goes immediately. Let me get a little close. Ouch, for baby. All right, so now we can view who dat. Yes. Let's admit all of them. I feel like we should be smooching or something when they, telling us to get a room. I wonder if they can, usually they can hear us. I don't know if they can see us just yet, but this should be part of a parenting exercise. Say everything you want to say to me while this close. Look at us. See, the guys would be like, I don't care. You can say whatever you want right now.
Good job, Kim.
Great. Ah, there we go. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. Well, now we know that you guys can see us and hear us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Buenas noches.
Luis, I feel like I haven't seen you in like forever and a day. Welcome back.
Finally made it.
Hello. Ooh, look who we've got, guys. We've got Yev coming in. Oh my gosh, this is not a false alarm. Oh, I'm so pumped. Oh, it's like
That would be awesome.
it's like the family's all coming together again. Awesome. You guys are all looking good. Angela, I love this photo of you and your twins. It looks a lot cooler. So
Yeah, I need to update it. That was from about a month ago. Hey, guys.
gosh, Yep, and Meryl. Hi, guys.
Everybody.
This is a great surprise. Oh my gosh, and we've got some babies.
Yeah, who needs gainful employment when we could chat with you guys?
I mean, come on. Exactly. We can sign all of your work sick notes or whatever you need us to do.
Oh, I can't. I'm a doctor.
That's true. Wait, maybe you can sign all of our notes.
That's true.
Yes.
Probably. So good to see you all.
Yeah.
Been way too long. I was missing y'all.
He was. I had to console him.
It's good it's Wednesday evening now, or Wednesday afternoon.
Well, Wednesday afternoon for some of them.
Yeah.
Awesome, you can make it. Okay.
That's good. Well, how about we dive in? Since everybody's here.
Yeah.
We're 5 minutes past 8 our time. I think that's like 5 minutes past 6. No, wait, I'm
2,
way off. 2, 1,
1,
something like that for you guys
1,
in
1,
Chi-Town.
yeah.
It's 1, right?
2 o'clock for me.
Yeah.
Good. Perfect.
Before we dive in, like one little warm-up question, because we're like over 2 weeks in the program. This is our 3rd week, and we were kind of wondering, how have your lives changed? Or that's assuming that some change has occurred. So I was wondering what stuck with you, what were you able to implement, what has changed, what has happened, how have we been able to benefit your lives?
Hopefully.
No wrong answers here. Who would like to shoot away?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm on my Bluetooth speakers as I'm getting ready to drive home.
Good.
Multitasking mama.
So
The baby is in the car seat, right?
Yes, I'll even show evidence.
Oh, I'm
That's
just
okay.
kidding. I couldn't help it. You're good.
That's
Okay.
good.
Well, for me, just having this close community and the friendships that I feel that are forming, especially between us ladies, and feeling that there's finally a support for Justin has just been amazing and wonderful.
Glad to hear so. Glad to hear so. You feel like there's a difference.
Yeah.
Something's changed.
Yes, most definitely. I feel like things are shifting, especially for Justin. There's someone who can connect and relate to him, whereas, I've been finding support through other stepmoms.
Okay.
He hasn't, and so this was very new and scary for him. And I think it's been very shifting for him in a very positive way.
Wow.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear.
Really encouraging feedback.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
awesome. I'd have to say we're very proud of you guys, and especially Justin. He had an amazing, I feel like, breakthrough on Saturday's call, and it was just really amazing just to see his awareness shift, just to see him make some connections and clicks. And I know that can be an awesome first step, and it can open so many other things in your relationship and in your family.
Yes, definitely.
As it is only the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear. Thank you, Angela. Thank you so very much.
All right, guys, try to top that. I'm just kidding. How about Caitlin and Luis? Again, no wrong answer.
You wanna go first?
Yeah, I think it's just been really encouraging, like relieving and empowering to see that this is also the norm for other people, because I think so much of
The norm.
but like so much of our friends, like they'll be like, oh my gosh, this like super dramatic thing happened, and I'm like, that's nothing. Like I'm just sort of like, that's not, I don't know, that's not a complicated family dynamic or something. I mean, everyone's story is their own, but I think that it's just been relieving to see like other people that deal with the same things, because sometimes when you feel like someone doesn't understand you, it makes you feel more alone. For me personally, I mean, it's been a mixture of like exciting and also overwhelming to like go over so many questions and topics, and the fact that one question can break into like 10 other questions. You know?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I'm really excited that there's like so much that we can like just continue to discuss over time. And I have felt also quite relieved and encouraged, like as silly or as simple as it sounds, to kind of like have this mindset shift of like, oh, it's not just how it is. We actually have the power to create the culture and the family home that we want. It's not just like, oh, okay, that's how it is. That sucks, or this is hard. It's like we can actually do our best to be intentional with each other, like put in the work and the energy to like create the structure or home or culture or parenting that we want, instead of just saying, oh, well, that's blended family life and it's hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if that is true, we
It
have
is.
like
But it is encouraging, an encouraging thought, absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
I think for me, it's also the support that I get from you guys, that I'm not the only one with a high conflict ex. And I mean, I've been noticing for the past days, for the past weeks, that as silly as it sounds, but I've gotten like bolder with her, also like saying things straight and making also my own boundaries. So like in developing my character also through your posts or your Instagram posts. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. Yes, those things happen.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I actually also started reading a new book. It's called Building Love Together in Blended Families.
Yeah, we have that book too.
Oh, great.
Yes.
It's a really
Awesome.
cool book. Yeah, I mean, we just started with chapter 1. It's a lot of info, sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I have to say, yeah, my change has been more.
Kind of shifting a perspective.
Yeah, that's a good sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you said that we are reading the book, so you are reading it together.
Yeah.
We read it out loud to each other.
Oh, we used to do that too. I love it.
Well,
In English or in Spanish?
It's in English.
Okay.
Don't stretch it too much.
What were you gonna say? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, like just we try to do it semi-regularly. I mean, whenever we have like a spare few minutes, but it's a slow process.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. You have time, take your time. It's at your own pace that you're going to have to go through all this. And so, yeah, good to hear. Thank you. Beautiful takeaways.
Can I add that just so you guys know that who hasn't heard of the book, we actually had purchased it a few months ago, also with the intention of going through it, and we flipped through it a little bit to also do research for this course. But our intention is actually to host a book club through it. So we are looking at, I think, September, because we were going to do it this coming month, but we realized, okay, we didn't have as much time as we thought. So in the next few months, like Louise and Caitlin, if you want to revisit it, or Yev, Meryl, and Angela and Justin, if you guys want to come back or come to it yourself, I think it's like $15 on Amazon, and we're going to do a book club where everybody reads a few chapters a week, and then kind of like this, we get together, we ask questions prompted through the chapters, and we have a good time. So
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Awesome. All right, next up, last but not least, Yevgeny and Meryl. Dun dun dun.
Maybe you want to go first?
No, you go for it, baby.
Oh, thanks, babe. I would say something that I found helpful is just kind of talking through some of the other resources that people found. So like even, like it's funny. So we're actually we are taking a vacation on our vacation, which seems like a foreign concept, but like we will be driving for an extended period of time here over the next week. So I'm like, man, we can get this audiobook and we could listen to it on the drive, because reading to each other is very romantic, but Meryl's voice is so soothing, it generally lulls me into like a comforting sleep.
He always falls asleep.
So Louise and Caitlin, that sounds really cute, but that's not going to work for us, because I think it's just going to upset her that I fall asleep. But I think it's a compliment. Like her voice is that soothing.
Absolutely compliment.
So for me,
from experience,
talking about these other resources, just being able to kind of look at other things that other people are finding helpful.
awesome. Can I ask really quickly where you guys are headed to? So you're going from Chicago to where?
Georgia, Midway,
Ooh,
Georgia.
That is a drive. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's about 14 hours.
Perfect.
That's nice.
Well, if you guys need some tunes, I'm starting to create a list of like our blended family romantic songs from across the world. So I know that some of you they don't have to be romantic. They can be like, you've got some Euro trash ready to come, I can imagine. But we're gonna create a playlist for all of our couples that take our courses and stuff. So we'll start it off and we'll get it over to you guys so you can jam together in the car.
Perfect.
Awesome. And Meryl.
Yeah, I feel like kind of echoing what Caitlin had mentioned, that like feeling like I'm not alone in feeling some of the things that I'm feeling has been like the biggest step towards like me healing. Or I know I talked to Cheyenne about like grieving like losses, and in this scenario, like I still actively am as recently as this weekend, but knowing like I'm not alone in doing that, and kind of like seeing you guys almost as like the step ahead. Like we're still dating, right? But to see like these, married couples who are doing it, making it happen, is encouraging. And also like for Yev, I love, because I feel like for me, there's more like, oh, the stepmom this, stepmom that, but there's not a lot of stuff for the dads out there. And I can only like imagine like what his emotions are, like kind of as the glue, like, they're his kids, I'm the girlfriend, like he's in the middle. So like, I don't know what that feels like. So to know that there's like stuff out there, community for him to really, really helps. Yeah, just the content of like the presentations. Like, we're kind of like watching them like after they happen, but like some of it's like super, like relatable, and it's just been like really helpful for me. Just like knowing that I'm not alone, and like I kind of like I'm like bought in, yes, like financially, but like emotionally, like into this family group. Like we'll always kind of have each other. So when the course is over, like I still have these people who like they get it, and we all support each other. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so very much. I've been told that you ladies have a beautiful community going on what was it?
WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp. And do you have the phone numbers of all the guys in here?
Well, I have
And
my
were you
connections.
lagging on the bromances?
The bromance.
The bromance is real.
Team group name. Well,
yeah, there you go.
Maybe it's time for us lads to also create something like that, where
Yeah. So, Kim, could we be like the Rad Dad group? Because that is actually, so for the people that don't have Instagram, that is a hilarious feed to follow, Rad Dad.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm writing that down right now.
Thank you, sir.
The
I like that idea.
Dad. And then you like spice that you like properify everything. Yes, sir. I love it. So polite and proper. The Rad Dad. Awesome. There you go. You guys can name it yourselves.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anything else you guys want to mention before we dive into tonight's class?
The class that everyone's been waiting for. Dun dun dun.
I'll take that as a no. I'll take that as a green light.
Yes. I don't know if Luis is saying if his camera is shaking yes. I think it's like it's going yes. Let's do this.
Without further ado,
Yes,
that means
yes.
that we
are
can
ready to launch into step parenting.
Can we do this?
Stepping into
Press
step
the share
parenting.
button.
Here we go.
And then I go and do.
Right. You guys can see our screen. It says step parenting, correct? All right, that's a good start. Awesome.
Step parenting, something that we like to see as a step up from parenting. Oh yeah, absolutely, baby. Where are we at? We've been working on a marriage and a parenting in the first weeks. Tonight, we're going to dive into step parenting, a discipline in its own, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then next week, we'll top it off with the multiple cultures and the multiple languages and stuff. But tonight, we would like to take you. What are we going to go through tonight? Some awareness about all the multiple factors that influence step parenting. See if we can approach it from a right angle. Maybe there is such a thing as a wrong angle. I think that only you can decide it for yourself. What is a role of a step parent and a role of a bio parent, how we see it, and also maybe the exes can come in here tonight. But without further ado, becoming a step parent, maybe that's something that you would like to elaborate on, my love.
Yes. Oh, well, between the two of us, I know I am the step parent, so I'll go ahead and dive in here. So stating the obvious, guys, ladies, I know we've talked about this. I know, Justin, when you listen to this, you also are a step parent, so you can relate to this. But basically, you're entering a relationship, and day one, you're basically a parent. Whether you function as one or not, whether your role is immediately seen as a typical parent, you are at least a parental role. So unlike a lot of other traditional relationships, or maybe relationships you guys have been in before, you gradually, usually get to grow into becoming a parent, or meaning even you get to gradually grow into your role as a partner with this person. But there's none of that when you become, when you date or marry someone that's a parent. You also kind of don't get a chance to have the full honeymoon phase. Yeah. I remember when we first got married, people were like, don't have kids right away. Don't rush into it. Like, you guys, you just got married. You got to have this honeymoon time. And I'm like, did you miss the point that Kim has a daughter? Like, we're never going to fully have that, which is okay. It's just, it is something, again, Meryl, you talked about losses. That is something that we just have to deal with, and work through positively. As a step parent, there's also no time to develop basically the problem solving that comes with raising children. You're kind of thrust into it. It's not like since we have a young son together, Mason, we're kind of growing along with him. But when you're a step parent, it's just like, boom, you all of a sudden have to take on these rituals that you didn't create, these values that you didn't get a chance to create and instill in these children. When you're a step parent, there are already so many of these things already instilled in that child. And so there's also no period of time to really solidify your commitment and work out the differences. It's kind of like you're doing all of this at the same time. It's like you don't have a moment to just kind of pause. It's like life keeps going, and you got to really try to just keep going along with it while there's children involved as well. So with all of this against us, guys, I mean, I'm sure all of you have felt these pains a little bit or a lot, because this puts a lot of stress on the couple. There's a lot of outside stress and a lot of outside situations that a blended family finds, a couple finds themselves in, that really does feel like you're being pulled apart. But a step family is ultimately, it is a system. It's just not two people as in a couple. It is a greater system as a whole. And so when something happens to you guys as a couple, like everyone in that relationship is connected. So what affects one affects everyone. There's also the outside factors that may influence the family. Whole system, you know, coming together, you hopefully never have to deal with or talk to your exes again. But when there's children involved, that ex will be with you for a very long time. And so a step family in and of itself, it's also a part of a greater family, but also a part of the society. You know, we shared very early on in our course that 50% of marriages fail. And of those, actually more than half of them get remarried. So there's a lot of step families that's a part of our society. So even in that, there can be a comfort that you're not alone. There's so many of us out there. But then when within a step family, there's also boundaries. There's an invisible border that regulates the amount and type of energy flow. And I feel like energy flow is definitely one of your favorite things to talk about, because there's an equilibrium that doesn't always happen in a balance or in a balanced
that
way.
Needs to exist, right? That input, that output within the family, protecting the family, what goes in, what goes out, needs to be balanced out. Yeah, absolutely. So within that larger system, there's also many small subsystems, as they call it. And we've gone through some of those, the spousal, the marriage, as we call it,
that was
parenting last week. And of course, also the step-parent, stepchild, which is what we are handling tonight. And also science affirmed that the step siblings, if those are there, those are also a huge factor in the success of the overall well-being of the step family, but they are not a priority, as to say. Maybe this is something that we can tackle in the future, or maybe Angela can help us out with that. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, something to be aware of, should that be in the case in your family. Step parent and stepchild, is that your?
Yes, I'm gonna dive in there, since that happens to affect my life and many of the ladies in here. So basically, guys, through a lot of our research, but also I think just something we know we've experienced in our own family, is that the survival of your marriage, of your relationship, really is contingent on this subsystem. So the number one system, right, in a step family is the marriage, or is the relationship, you and your partner. The subsystem that usually comes first is the step parent, and then the stepchild, and all the rest of the system of that sub family relates and will be affected by how that step parent stepchild system works or doesn't work. So what does that all mean? It basically means that you and that stepchild must find a way to be able to relate, to be able to connect, because if you don't, that relationship has the power to destroy what you and your spouse have built. If you can't find at least a way to, I think, peacefully find a way to coexist and to come together. And of course, we ultimately hope to find that love together. But this is always a challenge almost in every step family, because very often the stepchildren may see the step parent as a threat to their nuclear family. In research we read, they were sharing that, and maybe, I don't know, Caitlin, if you felt this, being a stepchild in a step family, that no matter how long the parents have been divorced, that the child still has that dream of their parents being together. And it's even in families, I thought this was surprising in research, that they showed even children who don't remember their parents being together. It's just something that they grow up with, and they see in society, and they see in movies, they see in their family, extended family, or their friends' relationships, right? Their parents. They see that their parents are together. So it's always that dream to have that. So the step parent can seem a threat to that system. And so this is actually more of you, Kimika, if you'd like to dive in here.
Since I'm the one that had a daughter before Shai entered the picture, yeah, we've had many years where it was just the two of us, and I was there from the first minute or the first day, raising her, changing her diapers. So yeah, we have our history. We have this familiarity, is that a word? Yeah,
Totally
that
word.
we've built up throughout the years. And we have our own way of doing, like, and then that's of course new for you to enter into.
Yeah.
So that at the same time, that bio kid could also feel like she's competing for my attention, for my love, for like the way it used to be. And that's another factor that could add to the challenge of becoming a step parent.
Yes. Or also, I think the opposing forces that we have at play too is that not only am I possibly taking daddy away the time, I'm also changing daddy. Yes, because you're a lot different now that you're a husband versus just what was her perspective was a single dad. So that also can be really hard for children to grasp, as they don't know how to explain it or maybe put it in words, but they see you as changing their parents as well.
Changing their normal.
Right? Totally.
What they know of. But anyways, the step-parent, step-child relationship, as science showed us, backs it up, is essential. It's crucial. What's more important there
is the attitude. You like talking about attitudes, huh? The attitude of the step parent. And so basically what that means, it's kind of simply broken down, is how you perceive your stepkids. So this is separate on how your stepkids treat you or how they actually perceive you. It's regardless of how they treat or perceive you, how you perceive your stepkids is actually a huge determinant for your overall step family well-being. So this actually leads us to just at least addressing the homework assignments that we gave you guys this week. We know that for the parents out there, we asked you, how did you change when you became a parent? And then for the step parents, we asked, give a specific example of a challenging situation.
Exactly. We were not planning of going in too deep in this. It was mainly to get you started, because we are going to tackle this more deeply. But on Saturday, on our group call, that will be the time where you could, or on Facebook, of course, don't feel like you have to wait till Saturday. But we wanted to get you thinking of like, okay, what could be maybe a benefit of having a stepchild or a child of your own.
Child too, exactly. Yeah.
So we are big fans of embracing
each other, obstacles.
Absolutely.
But it's true. I want you, if you could explain that sentence, what the that's a Dutch phrase, actually.
All right. I remember back in the day when we were dating long distance through the phone, and I was having some feelings, of course, of feeling like guilty bringing a kid into the relationship. I wasn't able to move to America as I would want to, so I had to move to Europe so that we could have a chance together. But it occurred to me, I guess, or us, thinking like, if I would not have had Billy in my life at that point, I would not have been the person that I am now. I would not have been the person that you fell in love with, that you appreciate so much. Mm-hmm. So in a way, it's thanks to that step kid that I am the man that I am today. Does that paint the picture clear?
For me, it does. So that's what he means by a backpack.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how we say it in Belgium. It's like an expression. We all have our baggage, luggage. No, baggage. It's not luggage. That's from my standpoint. But for you?
So for me, I knew that with Kim having his backpack, I had a choice to see her as baggage, as in she was going to weigh me down. Or I think about, it's funny when he shared with me the analogy of a backpack, I'm like, well, think of how freaking handy backpacks are, like how much they can help you, right? Like I think of going to school or while I've been hiking. I guess those are the two main times I've worn a backpack, or traveling. That's where you put your essentials, the things that you need, like to survive. So I thought of, basically now that I have this backpack, I have because he comes with it, he's a package deal. I was presented with an opportunity to grow. And I think something I want to speak out to you ladies and to Justin, the step parents in the room, is that you guys now find yourself in a situation you've never been in before. So if you feel totally like outside of yourself, like, I don't know who this person is, it is because you've never been this person before. And so only by putting yourself in this situation are you actually able to discover more of yourself. And I know it can be really scary when you first are in this role and you don't know how to do this role. And then you're also like discovering things that you didn't know about yourself, only because you're now having to like interact with your love's ex, and you're having to try to raise a child without being able to fully do so. So you're totally uncomfortable with maybe these things, these triggers that are coming up in your life. But what I would encourage you guys to do is go back to this word of embrace, is embrace this person. As corny as it is, you know, embracing is kind of another word for hug. It's like giving yourself that hug, because so often you need it. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of shame that comes up in step families from both sides, from the bio parent and the step parent. And the way that we see that you can really basically navigate this difficult life together is by embracing this new person that you're becoming.
Okay, and it might be uncomfortable. I'm sure it is for every one of us. There's times that it's really uncomfortable. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think we can grow most through our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
And I also would like to stress this embracing, not trying to resist, not trying to fight, because we'll only make things harder, we'll only make things worse. Reminds me of our conversation last Saturday, like, where do we make things harder on ourselves than they need to be? How can we surrender to the process? How can we go with the flow? How can we give into what is happening, what is going on? And Meryl, as you said so beautifully, there's like, you're discovering all these things that are deep within you. And of course, it's scary and maybe painful to bring them up to the surface. But it is the only way to get them out of your system, to bring them and release them. If we weren't in this situation, you would not be going through this expedited healing process as you are and as all of us are. I think it's very normal to go through it. It's like this failing forward concept, right?
Yeah.
From one failure to the other, but as we're going and we're getting places. We'll get places. No worries there.
And so this also relates to not just the step parent, but also the bio parent as well, because things have changed a whole heck of a lot for you too.
That's life, right? Isn't that what makes life interesting? That's at least what I believe. In a way, embracing this becoming of the new you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment. So yeah,
please do.
Mentioned what you're saying. I talked to Rachel Dunn, the spiritual stepmom on Instagram, and she said like the only way to is through. So kind of what you're saying, like the only way to get to X is to go. You have to go through, and you can't skip it. Or so yeah, it is hard, and I cry in stalls and bathrooms at work sometimes, but okay.
But then you feel better afterwards, right? Like I can't tell you how many times I have come to him and I literally have said like, I'm so angry because I'm angry, right? Like at a situation, or I'm so sad because I'm sad. Like it's like continual, I think, letting go of judgment too, when you feel these emotions and you feel these things that come up that you've never felt before. Like Kim said, you're in a situation you've never been in before. And so I think it's continually giving yourself that grace and knowing that in a blended family, it can be so easy for us to think like, oh my gosh, how long can I go through this? Or how will this be in 5 years? But like Rachel said, it's like, you're only going to get there if you choose to go through it, is to do it. And then what's amazing is when you're there, when you're to Z, I guess, because Z is the last letter of the alphabet. When you're there, you'll look back and realize, wow, like that was hard, but I got through it. And I don't feel the same way that I do now because I've changed and evolved as I've gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing. No, do it.
Well, I was gonna say sometimes like it's frustrating too when you feel like you made a few steps, forward and get excited about that, and then like there's something new. So like, yeah, it's like I feel like I made steps forward, and then to be told, oh, like you're still kind of going through the grieving process, and like, so what you're saying is I'm frustrated, I'm still grieving. Like you feel like, you know, you made all these steps, but like it's not all fixed, or it's just like, like I thought I was through all that, but here I am, you know.
Yes, ma'am. It's like solidifying that next step. If you wouldn't do that, you'd take 20 steps ahead and you think you'd be there, but what would you be building on? Would it be a real step, or would you only imagine it that you have grown? I remember one conversation we had some time ago, where I kind of compared it to like airing out your basement. If you're like becoming a better person and you're building stronger, then we at least I feel like it'll only bring better feelings and I'll be happier all of the time. But you cannot clean your house without cleaning out all the basement as well. You have to like go deep and make sure that there's shed a new light in there, shed some new fresh air, shed some new love on the things that are like really down there. But I think the more that you go through that cyclical process, the better things will go. And I think that at first it'll go slowly and harder, and how do I do this? But before you know it, maybe it becomes a habit, and maybe it becomes easier over time.
But you only know if you do, right? Yeah.
So we really believe that this step parenting thing is an awesome way to grow rapidly, to expand as a person, as a human being, to like new heights that you've never, embracing that new you that you are becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment that you become a spouse or a partner, you also become a parent. But also, you're not. You're a parent, but you're not. Yes, you have to do the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and the taxi driving and all that stuff, but you're not a real parent. You have a kid that all of a sudden you are responsible for. You have to like this kid, and this kid has to like you.
At least that's the pressure that blended families feel.
Yeah, I think that must be a very challenging and tough situation that you find yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also this thing in the backpack that might be impacting.
Yeah.
Maybe not controlling. They might try to, but they will impact. They're there. They will have some kind of an influence into your family. So all of a sudden, everything is different from other relationships, from past loves and whatever, just because there's kids involved, and all of this is going on way outside of your comfort zone. Absolutely. So yeah.
So I think people might be like, why?
Keep embracing it.
Why do this?
Because you are on a fast track.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going fast. Things are going hard. Brace yourself and lean into it. Absolutely. Now, this could be a positive thing, but it could also be a negative thing, because if there's a little bit of stretch, yeah, that's good. We grow, we feel challenged, and there's a healthy way to grow. But when it's too much, of course, things can be unhealthy. So that's why we want to say, you do not have to do it all alone, and you do not have to do it all at once. Take your time, build that solid foundation. If things are going too fast for you, take a step back. Build that relationship, the communication, build your foundation. You'll get there over time.
Yes, this is definitely my zone here. So something that was hugely important to me when I first became a stepmom was to even just change the wording to bonus mom. I know that it's kind of a new catchphrase and it's new and trendy and all that, but more so of speaking it out so that I would remember that this is how I wanted to see my stepdaughter. And I really have to say it was a choice, it was a choice to see her as a bonus. And I understand, like, it is challenging to see these children as bonuses all the time, because they do affect your life and very often add stress. But I think we have to remember that in this situation, we are the adults. We didn't choose for the drama and the struggle and the stress, but we did choose this relationship. And there's a power in that ownership. When you can fully own that, you really can see the beauty in it, in all of it. And just to remember, I think in so much of blended family life, it's about empathy and having empathy for others that are in your family situation, and first and foremost with the children that are in this situation. So because we chose this, but the children did it. And on top of that, they're also kids, so they process things completely differently. And ultimately, all these choices that are being made, they had this many in all of them. So just meaning that there's so many choices being made without their consent. And so they are being forced into multiple situations, and just having that empathy for them will really also help, I think, give you that more understanding mindset and realizing how we can be a bonus to them, of course, but they can also be a bonus to us.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Because like I said, we are on a fast track to growing better, stronger, wiser than ever. So when we say like, okay, they are the kids and we are the adults, what do we actually mean by that? Quick Google search, and I saw something that I liked. Like, okay, what do kids do? Your left-hand side.
This is not
whine,
the X's column. This is the
pout,
kid.
they tattle, they have tantrums, they're selfish, they blame. That's kids. That we cannot hold that against them, because that's what kids do. Maybe to a certain extent we can even expect them to do that. That doesn't mean that we have to do that, because we are grown up. We have, 20 years more life experience. We are now the adults. Let's show them how being adult is actually being done. The right hand side, right? Being self-aware, being humble, an attitude of gratitude, open-mindedness, flexible, patient, all these things, it actually reminded me that these are these virtues, and we've mentioned them a couple of times in this course, and I will gladly do so a couple of times more. But in all these virtues, if I were to pick one, I would say the for the kids, but also for yourself, please. Do not be too hard on yourself. Do not underestimate what all you are going through. Take your time. I don't know about you, but I think that in general we can be hard on ourselves. Maybe we always expect ourselves to be perfect all the time. Okay, I don't think that's really realistic. So if you had to choose one of these virtues, I'd say pick that one, grow that one, and then some others will also be triggered, like the patience and being flexible and being humble and gratitude, and they're all interwoven, right?
Yeah.
So do not be too hard on yourself, because in the end, it is about a bonus. We like that word, a bonus kid. It is a bonus. We are to them, but at the same time, they are also to us.
Yes, and there's certain ways that we want to break down kind of a little bit of some points of showing how we are a bonus to them. So we get to show the kids what real love is and a healthy marriage is supposed to be. Since we are in a blended family, these kids have probably had a bad example, where now we get to show them a beautiful example of love. We get to also show them that, we're not here to take anything from them. If anything, we're here to give to them. I saw a quote I remember last week around Mother's Day that said, a child can never have too many people that love them, so emphasizing that we're here to add to their life. And then we get to pour our love into them ultimately. And I think anyone can attest that when there is more genuine, real, especially unconditional love, that is a perfect opportunity to grow, so they become better. But then perhaps the points that we don't always think about is how they actually can be a bonus to us. So As Kim emphasized, and Meryl, I love some of your beautiful examples, is that we get to work through our past junk. There's stuff that very often we hide deep, and only in unique, or I should say intimate relationships with people are those things exposed. And that's where family comes into it. And especially being put in the pressure of loving children that are not your own. You get to work through that stuff. You get to grow into being a better person, which ultimately is going to affect everyone around you, because not just your family is going to benefit, but your coworkers, the people in your, mom's group, the community of, church people you're in. So whoever's around you is going to benefit from you becoming a better person. And then ultimately, for those of us that didn't have children when we married into a step family, you also get to grow into the parent that you want to be. You get like a great practice round, and you really get to see like, who am I? What kind of a parent do I want to be? And so I think as a bonus parent, to really embrace that, it's really about seeing the children as a gift. And it doesn't mean that it can be conditional, and that doesn't mean that they're always going to be lovely to you. It doesn't mean they're always going to like you. And that's where we get to grow that love muscle, and you get to learn how to truly love unconditionally. Because really that's I think, whether it's you want to base it on any research in the world, or even from any spiritual book, emphasizing that loving unconditionally a marriage is the way through, is the way to get to that 50, 60 years together. And so your bonus children can actually teach you how to even do that more and more, and help you practice that more and more in your family.
We've had many times that Billy would act out on us, or mostly on you, Shai. And then we could react in a way like we think like, oh, they're being rude to us. Oh, they're not kind to us. But at the same time, we stop and think like, okay, she's going through a hard time. She's the one that's suffering, and being a kid, she doesn't know how to talk about it. She doesn't have the words. She's not aware of what's going on. And so we always say, love them harder. When they're having a hard time, we love them harder. We love the shoot out of them. And that's how we can practice that unconditional love. It's not conditional as in, when you are kind to me, I'll be kind to you. No, it's like, hey man, I'll be here for you no matter what. Nonetheless, I wanted to stress that in that unconditionally part. So anyways, yeah, a bonus. It's your attitude. If you see your kids as a burden, your family will suffer under it. If you see your stepkids, I have to say, as a gift, as an enrichment, your entire family will benefit from your attitude. But once again, you are not alone. So we would recommend to keep coming together, keep finding each other. It's the two of you. We know that you got this. God knows that you got it. So yeah, it's a team. It's a team effort. Absolutely. So keep working on that strong foundation. Number one, the marriage. Keep coming together. Research has also shown that when you do not put your family first, when you say put the kids first, chances are bigger that you will not make it. It's your family, your marriage, the two of you that have to make it. The kids, over time, they will grow up, they will leave the house, and what will be left by then of the two of you? So that's why in the first course we hammered, I think is what we would say. We emphasized that part.
Yes. The only thing I was going to add is, I think the thing that was quite surprising to me, guys, is we've been pouring through a lot of research articles, and we're going to add them to a resources section, by the way, in case you guys want to be like, what research are they talking about? Or did they, well, we've been saving the articles, so we're going to put them again in a resources section. But something I think that was very surprising to me is what Kim said, that research and studies really do show that the marriage first, children second. And that was actually regardless of if it was a traditional marriage or a step family.
True.
And I was surprised because I was
Yeah.
thinking, well, in
Makes sense,
a
right?
step family, don't the kids often come first? And it was more of just like in a traditional marriage, sometimes the kids do come first. Sometimes you
Of
guys
course.
can't always talk when you want. Sometimes you guys can't always have sex when you want to. You know, there's a lot of different things. Oh, I got all the guys. Okay, the guys are there. Okay. No, so you can't always do what you want, but it's the same thing in a blended family situation. And I will say, if that's not the case in your relationship right now, that's okay, because it is more of a challenge in a blended family. Because again, back to that relationship and that foundation that the bio parent and the bio child had. Now you have that step parent coming in. It wasn't an organic traveling together. So if that's a little off balance or imbalance in your marriage right now or in your relationship, that's okay. It's just about, okay, becoming aware and realizing it and finding a way that you guys can keep your relationship strong. And by doing these things that we talked about in the marriage class, we can get you guys there. So going back to those love languages, how can we speak each other's love language? And Kim, I know you love adding this one, the declaration of nuptialization.
Yeah, absolutely. We may not have had time to work on that, but
Yeah.
that's okay. We have more time.
Yeah.
We have a lifetime to work through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 1, work on that spousal foundation. Number 2, work on your parenting team. How can we parent together? Your parentments, if I remember correctly. And then number 3, work on the step family. This family is your family. This is the one that you would like to, I can imagine, have, guard, keep, savior. This is what it's all about. So find a way to protect it. All right.
So here we go, guys. Cheyenne's taking the wheel. Look out. Buckle your seatbelts because I'm going to talk about the role of the step parent. Okay. So this is something that you guys, I think all of you have addressed, is a little bit of an unknown, a little bit of chaos in your families, and that's totally normal. It's actually a very sometimes long and challenging transition in a family to know what the heck is the role. So we know that you guys also gave us feedback as far as, instead of just conceptualizing things, trying to give a little bit more of a step-by-step process. So we are going to give you guys some concepts and some steps today to how to figure out the role of the step parent, and also backing up what we've done and then also what we've read about in research. So it's called, oh my gosh, how do you say this word? Hold on. Contingenter.
The contingenter. Because you said earlier that the family, like, or the step parent is like contingent on the subsistence, the relation. So yeah, you're just
I love when I have to ask my Dutch speaking husband how to say an English word.
Love
so
it.
Great. You love it.
I don't know if it exists though.
So basically, yes, that's why we call the contingenter, basically just meaning that this role is the contingent of the entire family. So This role is a very important role.
Yes,
so what we say is a great first step for your immediate role, you can do the moment you enter a family. So even for you, Meryl, even though you guys aren't married, you can immediately support your man. What does that look like? So definitely in the beginning, or even Angela and Justin, we know you guys are a little bit further along in this journey. But the best thing you can do in the beginning, or even if you need a reboot in your relationship, is to observe. So don't try to immediately come in and change things, because again, we're coming in to a family system and now a subsystem that has its own ways of doing things. I think it's just like, in even a traditional couple sense, this would be a great first step for a marriage. Don't try to go in and change everything, right, about your spouse. So it's the same thing when you have going into a step family. It's more of observing in the beginning. I'll tell you my personal story is coming in. Something we all have in common is we also have spouses that have been married before and have had a divorce, but also are for different cultures. So when I first got married to Kim, I came in and I realized, holy crap, like this family's a lot different than the one I ever expected I would join and enter. not only within the four walls of our family, but also the culture I was also in as well. So I really had to come in and be an observer and kind of see how they do things. What are things I would do differently? And just kind of in the beginning, really work on being practical. So what this looked like is all of a sudden, my spouse went from being a single dad to now a husband and a co-parent with me. So now I sought him out and asked, okay, how can I best support you? Because my role isn't defined. I don't know really what role I play in this family. So while we're trying to figure it out, how can I best support you? What are things you used to do on your own that now that I'm here, I can help with? Like, how can I practically help things? And so in the beginning for me, it was a little bit sometimes of taking my bonus daughter, who is fabulously in the background, taking her to school, taking her by bike. That's something Kim used to always do, or helping cook, helping dishes. Again, a lot of the practical things, even though I, as a woman, wanted to do more of the emotional side of things, it just wasn't right in the right timing in the beginning. So I really focused on supporting my spouse in the beginning. The second one is actually more of a role of how can you specifically influence your stepchild. And I would definitely recommend focus on becoming a friend. And that was really hard for me because in last week's parenting session, I revealed that, and Luis, I know you commented on this, that I had shared that my parents raised me. And I feel like I always, as a young woman, knew that I wanted to make sure I was my child's parent because I was the only parent they would have. And so meaning I didn't want to be my child's friend. It's not that I didn't want to be friendly, but I knew that raising children, that it is hard. You have to tell them no. I felt you have to give them guidelines and boundaries and consequences so that they can grow up into responsible human beings. Where all of a sudden, I now have this sweet, amazing child that I'm responsible for, but I'm also not fully her parent. So I focused on becoming a friend in the beginning. And also still to this day, it hasn't changed. It's just grown deeper and gotten more depth to it. And we put the love languages here because we want to emphasize that not just your partner has love languages, right? So do your stepkids. And so I know some of the stepkids, I know that like Meryl, your girls are only 2 and 4. So it's hard to kind of figure out like, what are their love language? They like to, braid hair and paint nails. And so it's kind of, and also like, I know Matthias, I know he also is young, but it's kind of discovering those kids and starting to really, again, observe what ways do they like, what ways do they feel love. I know that sometimes younger kids, they like the more physical touch, right? They want to hold hands going to the park. They want to have you brush their hair. Maybe they want to snuggle on the couch. But again, maybe that's not the way that they feel love. So it's really seeking that friendship first and foremost, and seeking out how you can love them best will be a great way that you can organically build that friendship together. Please do.
May I, especially when you do not speak their language and when you cannot use your words, well, then know that there's 4 other ways that you can show them that you care about them. Acts of service, right? And what was the other one? Help me out, babe.
So not words of affirmation, but physical touch.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Gifts.
Have
quite
a
an
gift
easy
to
one.
them. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, maybe just to get you thinking on how can you show them that you care, even if you do not have the words to use there. Something I wanted to share.
Yeah. So like with Billy, especially in the beginning, and maybe Meryl and Caitlin, I know this is very relevant to you guys because your stepkids speak different languages. For me, it was about what's something I can do that you don't need language. And so we would like bake cookies together. We would go walk my dog together. I remember one time we made fake snow and had a snowball fight. We would watch movies that she could put on in subtitles. I remember one of my favorite, I think, early memories was making Harry Potter wands together with her and using Google Translate. I mean, it took like 20 minutes to ask, like, can you pass me the red paint? Basically, I mean, it was slow and it felt so weird, especially you guys can tell I love words, but I was like, this is so awkward and weird. But the less I judged myself in this situation, I was like, okay, this isn't so bad, and she's good. And the most important was that we were building that foundation of friendship, so that, boom, look at this transition. So that then eventually over time, and it's going to happen different in every single family. Again, from our personal experience, ours transitioned, I think, a little quicker to parenting because we started to have Billy full time a year ago. And that's when, as it starts to transition organically in your family, that's when the role will change a little bit. That's when, we would recommend definitely discussing expectations with your spouse, discussing discipline. Something that really worked for us, and we've seen this in a lot of step families actually we've interviewed, is that when it comes to discipline, it is a challenge no matter what age they are to discipline as the step parent, because there's always that thing in the back of their head that says, but you're not my mom, but you're not my dad. That little bit of, no matter how much they like you, that little bit inside them that's like, do I respect that authority? So something that we've seen and we've done in our house is that we, the couple, again, coming together as a team, we've discussed expectations. Kim, as the bio parent, has remained super open and listened to me. And so I'd encourage you guys also as the bio parents to really listen to your step parent, regardless if they're a parent or not. Trust me, they have something inside of them that's really valuable and can probably help you. But then when we come together with a disciplined plan together, we'll say, for instance, okay, so Billy now no longer will have social media, or when she comes home, she has to come home and put her cell phone on the table for the first 30 minutes, so that now I feel empowered as the step parent that I can remind and guide Billy or my stepchild to the house rules. So it doesn't feel so much like I'm doing it. It's more like we've come together as a team. We decide on the expectations. We then communicate, or mostly more Kim, not just because of language, but because he is the parent, he communicates them to his child, to Billy. And then so together, I immediately felt more empowered that I can remind her and her not feel like, whoa, what do you tell me what to do? Because she knew this is a house rule. This is expected of me. There will be consequences if I don't respect these house rules. And so it really freed me up to have that role, that balance of a friend, but also a respected person in my own household, I would say.
Because these house rules in the end are in the kids' benefit. It'll do good to them over time.
Yeah.
So then you can help remind them and say like, hey, I'm here to help you, rather than I'm here to pull a power play on you and you have to accept my authority. Right. It's a different way of approaching this stuff.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome. Now it's on to you, baby.
Yeah, the bio parent, because step parenting, there wouldn't be a lot of step parenting if we wouldn't be there. And of course, we can help our spouses out. Of course, us to embrace this new role. We don't have to be mommy and daddy at the same time no more. Now we get to parent together with the love of our life. And how amazing is that, to be honest, to be a team with just the most amazing person you ever met. Of course, we have to deal with this guilt, something that we carry around. Yes, we put these kids through divorce. And yes, now since there's a new family, we cannot give them all of our exclusive attention all the time. Okay, yeah, so be it. Accept it and move on. Of course, us too are being dragged, pushed outside of our comfort zone. We don't have to do it all alone, right? But we like to embrace, once again, this concept of the bio parent. We kind of use this metaphor as the bridge. I am the bridge between my daughter and my wife. I'm the one that connects them. I'm the one that brings them together. That is my role in this family. Like I said, with our kids, we have a shared history. We have our roots together. And now there's a spouse here, or a partner, and we chose pursue love. And now this new woman or new man and our kids, they have to work together. They have to find a way to live together, to become a family, all because of us. And I feel like that's quite a responsibility that I carry there. So yeah, I bring them together. It's my duty to make sure that I can connect them. And it's awesome because I get to love on both my women at the same time. And I also have to make sure that both of them are happy, of course.
Whew. That's a really big, and Yiv's got that 3 times over, and Justin, I lost count. You got a lot of women to make happy.
Absolutely. One thing that I very often find myself doing is translating, because they don't speak the same language and they don't know each other as well. So I'm the one going back and forth and shedding new light on their perspectives and making sure that we bring them together. We get to come together every time, back and back, time and again.
Do you mind if I just jump in there for a moment? Maybe take a sip. Something that I love about the word translate is because, literally, like, sometimes I think you hear parents say, I feel like my kids and I don't speak the same language. And in 3 out of 4 of our families, that's actually literally, like, we don't speak the same language as our stepkids. But something I want to make sure that I emphasize there is, yes, he translates literally the language, especially in the beginning. That was something that was constant.
Double conversations.
I mean, no wonder you fell asleep so easy at night, because I think his brain, but you still do it. But what my point here, guys, is that it's not just translating language. It literally is, like he said, it is the feelings and the point of view. So that is universal, even if the language is the same, because there's just sometimes where, Billy is not understanding me and I'm not understanding her. So Kim, again, gets to be that bridge to each other, because he's in love with both of us in different ways. Absolutely. And you have shared history with both of us in different times and different seasons. And so us both better than we know each other, if that makes sense, So that's how Kim gets to translate to Billy how I'm feeling, to help me see Billy's perspective, and really gets to, I feel, pull us all together and connect us.
Ma'am. I also remember encouraging both of you to spend quality time together. Every once in a while, take a step back when I see that everything is good. Everything is fine. Everybody feels well. Okay, let me take a step back and let 2 of you or 6 of you or how many there are share experiences, because that's when we get to know each other. That's when we become friends, actually, when we build memories together. Build good memories. Yes, ma'am?
I will say, ladies, and possibly Justin, the step parents here, this was one of the most terrifying things for me. Obviously, language was a huge reason here, because I am such a communicator and I've always been able to rely on my mouth to get me through things. So all of a sudden, when that was removed, and when he means share quality time together, he does mean, like, leave us alone. And I used to put so much pressure on myself, and I used to feel like I am failing at this. I am so boring. She's not talking. This is awkward. And again, I realized the moment I took myself and just said, stop judging every single moment, and just realized, just us being in the same room, breathing together, and just being us two is great. And I remember it was very uncomfortable at first, and I still have moments where it does not feel comfortable, but it's amazing how, because we were, again, forced out of our comfort zones, because I'm sure it was also hard for Billy as well. Some of our best shared memories are the ones where we were just alone together, and the ones that we had to share together, because just like with parents, growing that shared experience, it was important. We saw in the end for I and Billy, and for you guys and your stepkids to have together.
All right. One last thing. Back up your spouse. Absolutely. Help them. Of course. Back them up. I think this is for the bio parent, but this is also for the step parent.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the most important relationship. Yeah. Help each other. We're in it together, right? When the kid becomes first and it becomes some kind of a competition, and that's the fastest way to break everything. So don't
do it.
exactly.
Oh my gosh, my first son. Can you guys see the resemblance? That's our Humpy. Is he here? Oh no, he went to
No, he's in
sleep
the
with
back.
Billy. Okay.
Um,
Look
I'm-
at Meryl. He is just the cutest. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to take you on a little side track here for a moment, but I beg you to stay with me because in the end, this will lead to a point. I hope that I can make it come across in a good and efficient way too. When I would like to talk about teachers, and this is actually our fifth family member. No, I don't think you guys have met him before.
Not yet.
This is Humphrey. This is Humphrey, and he has had quite a life. When he was 1 year old, he was found roaming the streets of LA.
True.
He was put in a dog pound where he got adopted.
Yeah.
Not by any of us, though.
Nope.
At the age of 2, his new owner, he decided to move away to Thailand. And since Humphrey had a good vibe with the neighbor woman, okay, that became his new home. A couple of years later, the new owner decided to emigrate to Europe, and so did Humphrey. And over here, he was welcomed by my sweet little girl. I don't know if you can see that with all the camera stuff on there. I don't know how
that is
like
quite literally a bread necklace.
If you were
Billy made that for Humphrey.
doggy bread.
She chewed the bread herself, and then he very willingly put it around his neck, as you can
I
see.
tell by the look in his eyes. Yeah, he's 11 now. He's living with us here in Europe with 4 of us, 5 of us. And thank you very much.
We're getting notes from the other room.
I'm sure that when he was 1 and roaming the streets as a stray dog, he had no idea what life could bring. But I don't think any of us knew what this life could bring. But anyway, I was talking about teachers. As of course, as a dad, I too used to walk and still walk Humphrey every now and again. And it's a small little dog. It's called a Chihuahua, even though maybe it's a little bit bigger, but not too much. It was smaller than my cat, absolutely. And yeah, what struck me is that every time Humphrey would see a dog that's even a slight inch taller, he would go into attack mode. The Chihuahua in him would really come out, absolutely. And I always used to wonder, like, why would a smaller dog want to attack a bigger dog, even though the bigger dog, he didn't bark at him, he didn't growl, he didn't even see him. But Senor Kalinin, how can I help you?
Cam, are we claiming that's a photo of you and Humphrey?
Oh, we can't hear you. Wait.
Oh, hey, Cam, are we claiming that's a photo of you and Humphrey?
Raised his hand. We still can't hear you, Yev.
Damn it. All right, I'm going to dial back in.
Oh, wait. It was our fault, I think. Try again?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
We're back.
Cam, are we claiming that's a photo of you and Humphrey?
Correct, sir.
You, Kim. I told you.
Kim!
Right?
What's up, man?
What happened, man? That's what happens when he shaves.
Is it the shave or is it like what's
Cam, I
on
hear you.
top?
I actually shaved today too, and I instantly regret it. I'm like, where's the rest of my face? This is making me feel uncomfortable now.
I know the feeling, man.
Anyways, I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. Please bear with me here. Because I'm talking about teachers, right? So I would find Humphrey attacking, if possible, every dog that he come across. And so I came up with my little explanation, not being backed up by science, just my own explanation, but I found some kind of a relief in there. So every time Humphrey sees a big dog, he's going like, I'm going to beep F you up. And even though he does not stand any chance whatsoever, he cannot help himself. He feels threatened, he feels scared, and therefore he attacks. That's my explanation, at least. And it made me wonder, why would people attack? Would it be that maybe deep down they are scared? Maybe deep down they cannot cope with what's going on? Maybe they are scared of feeling scared. What shows is that there's no inner dialogue going on when people verbally or physically, whatever, attacking us. There's no self-soothing. There's no calming oneself. It seems to be that there's no awareness of what's going on deep down inside of those people, right? Made me wonder, why do we get upset? Why do people react in an aggressive way? But also, more importantly, to me at least, is that when someone comes at us, yelling and screaming and whatever, it made me wonder, what are you afraid of? What do you feel threatened by in this moment? And just in that split second, just thinking like, okay, what are you afraid of? What are you threatened by? Gives me the opportunity to change the way that this conversation, or if you want to call it that way, is going, like change the way that things are going. Yeah, because the moment that we become aware of what is going on, we don't get carried away. We don't get trapped in their traps, right? We don't play that petty little game like that. Instead, we can observe and see what is going on with those people. Now, what is being backed up by science, and I hope, Meryl, that you would correct me if I'm wrong about this, is that there's a lot of things that's going on inside of those people that are attacking us. And it's called the amygdala hijack. And the amygdala is a little thing that's like inside your skull, in the middle of there somewhere. And I'm sure you've heard of this fight, flight, and maybe even freeze concept before. Well, that's the amygdala that takes care of that. It's kind of like a switch. You can turn on or you can turn it off. When it's off, it allows the blood to stream freely into our brains, more importantly to the frontal neocortex, where we can think logically about what's going on. But the moment the amygdala gets flipped on, it trumps all the blood flows. It's because something in our environment says like, there's danger. It's like millions of years ago, there was like all of a sudden this saber-toothed tiger in front of your nose, and you didn't have the time to like, contemplate, what is this animal trying to say to me? How does he look? Because by that time you would already be
dead.
Yeah, you wouldn't be alive no more. So that's why, according to, I hope, science, that's why we have such a thing as a amygdala, just to make sure that we survive. When the amygdala goes on, we cannot no longer think logically neither. So, okay, instead of trying to reason angry people into a civilized conversation, instead I'm still learning to diffuse the situation or to basically walk away, because I know that nothing good could ever come out of this situation at this moment. Something triggered them, something scares them, and so they act out. And of course, this doesn't only go to other people, it's us too. Sometimes we too want to attack someone, but then I try to think of like, okay, what am I scared of at this time? Is it because I do not want to get hurt? Is it maybe very funny, I find that, because I don't want my beautiful wife to not love me anymore? But then sometimes we exhibit behavior that actually causes us to get the results that we do not want to have, or something like that. I've also come to realize that people find it hard to cope with things that they do not understand. When something's weird, when something is different, people don't do well in those kind of situations. But by trying to become more aware of what is going on, I feel like it helps me improve my communication, to have more effective communication. Because so often we see on TV or in the past, we see people who are scared and feel threatened, and they then feel entitled that they can make the other people feel the same way.
A bully.
Am I talking about my ex-wife here? I have no idea. But it's been said that hurt people, right? They feel that they have the right to hurt you too. Sometimes then later they would come and apologize, and I didn't mean it like that. But yeah, maybe at some point things will be too late. Sometimes the damage has been done, and what is growing, what is sacred, may not be as beautiful anymore.
Wow.
I call this the Chihuahua effect. It's like, okay, what can a small dog teach you? That's why I call this teachers, because I believe that there's teachers everywhere if we're open to see what maybe God is trying to teach us. Yeah. Okay, so how is all this relevant? Well, when living in we call it a doubly blended family, not only blended in like two families, but also blended in like two cultures. There's many parties involved. There's many layers going on. There's many specifics that outsiders do not understand. They just don't get it because they're not in that situation. It's kind of like being a parent. You only know how it feels like when you become a parent. So maybe this is a beautiful bridge to take us to the X. The X, it seems that's a big concern in many families, and I think even in doubly blended families. When there's a different culture, when there's different languages, when there's different everything, people don't cope too well with things that are different. And if your ex does, then I'd say awesome, celebrate it. But if they don't, I believe that it's our job to serve and protect. Yes, sir. As a servant leader, it is our job to protect what matters most, and that is our beautiful family. Of course, we have to address the ex, but not let them drag us into the quicksand time and time again. Just when you were out, when you thought you were out, she dragged you back in. Probably something like that, right? Okay, so address, deal with it, but not focus too much on it.
Yeah.
In coping with the ex,
how about I take this over?
We go about this.
Oh, like any person that's come out of a broken marriage or relationship, it can get you all fired up. I'm going to give him a break for a moment. Yes, I can feel it, baby. And so, guys, just to kind of piggyback as a phrase, jump on, what Kim said is, it is one of the top pain points, I'd say, in a blended family. It is one of those highest numbers, I think, of complaints and struggles is the ex. So we knew in our course we had to address the ex somewhere. We couldn't just leave him or her out, because very often they do impact our families in some respect. But we always want to bring it back to what we can control. And of course, we understand that we can't control the ex. And so we want to spend a little time tonight just basically giving you guys some of our simple rules, things that we've applied, I should say, in our family. But of course, you guys have to do what feels and looks best for your family situation. So first and foremost, our simple rules, I don't know, y'all have an American in your relationship. So maybe you guys will know the show, Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. It was like a big show a few years ago, Kaylee Kuko. Anyways, but these are like our, yes, from Big Bang Theory, that girl.
Curly hair.
What was that?
They're two sisters.
I think so. Yes. Anyway, I digress. But if this helps that stick for you, so these are like our simple rules for dealing with the ex, basically. So one of our big rules, and this is something that these are things that we implement in our family. And so first and foremost is that we never slander the bio parent, especially in front of the kids. But we even try to practice this in front of each other because we notice, none of us are perfect in this. And we notice the more negatively we talk about her together, it's like a snowball effect. It's just all of a sudden she can do no right. And all of a sudden, like, we notice we get more frustrated when we talk with Billy about her mom. So we really try our best to speak honestly. Of course, don't hold back with your spouse, but do so in a way that we can, of course, always, one of our other E words of the night is not just embrace, but empathy. And we're going to get to that
But
next.
before, may I?
Yeah,
May I
please,
intervene?
please.
Because sometimes when we are trying to be the bigger one, the better party, and not lower ourselves to like their petty little game, sometimes I find it oftentimes I find it very hard, because I know that she would do stuff like that. She would badmouth or trash talk or slander, but we chose to never play that game, because I believe that over time, Billy will be old enough and wise enough to see herself what is true. And one day she will come to the realization that all the things that her mom has been saying about me, although it might be her perception, but they might not be her truth. And then she will see also the difference in like, hey, my dad never did that to my mom.
Right. My
My dad only spoke positive about her, however hard it is. So over time is that integrity, I feel. I think it'll pay off in the long run if we behave the correct way.
I think something that Kim taught me is, because I also would get frustrated, like, why do you not let your daughter see your mom for who she really is? And Kim would say, well, she will see her for who she truly is. I don't have to show her. I don't have to convince her of that. So nothing I say positive is ever going to take away anything negative, meaning like there's not enough I could build her up that if she is truly this negative person, that will block her perception. So eventually, like, your kids will come to their own belief and understanding. And we don't want you to become less of
want anyone to talk bad about our mom. We love them for who they are. So
yeah, we can't go to yo mama jokes.
Not tonight, no ma'am. But yeah, something we definitely wanted to share with you.
Yeah. But the next thing, speaking of the other E besides embrace, is empathy. And what we mean by that is doing your best to really empathize with the bio-parent situation. Imagine what it's like, because very often you guys are in that same similar situation. All of you bio-parents out here, tonight, you guys also have to say goodbye to your kids. You guys have to trust an adult that you, for whatever reason, decided to separate from, that you decided to end your relationship, marriage with, and you have to trust that person to raise your child, probably in a different way and method than you do. So they're going through that same thing. So embracing a mindset of empathy for this bio parent can be really crucial to at least having a peaceful, harmonious spirit in your family. And why we have crossing off communicate in the PowerPoint here is because this was from research. We found an article just last night that said where you can practice empathy, it doesn't always mean you have to communicate this empathy to that parent. And what we mean by that is some people, especially high conflict co-parents, they have shown that they can actually use this empathy against you. So it just means you can empathize with your ex and imagine what life is like for them, and especially speak that out to your partner. And that goes both ways. Actually, something I think that's been really interesting in our relationship is that when Billy was going through some of her hard stuff last year, she had a really bad relationship with her mom. I actually found myself empathizing for the mother, for her mom, just as a mother. And I actually would communicate that empathy to Kim, but I didn't fully communicate that empathy to her mom because I knew that her mom could take that empathy and see it as a weakness or an opportunity to turn us against each other. So again, it's a balance. But again, practicing it in your home is only also going to just create more peace in your home for everyone when you try to imagine the other side.
It reminded me of the agree to disagree from the first class, like make it a habit. Because it's so easy to agree and oh yeah, and she's bad and oh yeah, and things, a mouse becomes an elephant there. While when we take her standpoint and try to come to problems from different angles, I feel we get to diffuse a situation. We get that amygdala to turn off, so we can think more rationally, more logically. So yeah, speak that out. Become the devil's advocate.
Maybe the angel's advocate.
Oh, yeah.
On a more positive note. But on the next rule that we have in our house is be very intentional with what we can control, right? So there is so much in a blended family that you cannot control. So we emphasize in our family, what can we control about this situation? What can we do? Because the reality is, you can't control your ex, we can only control ourselves. And so moving forward with that mindset, I feel like that also brings a lot of peace between you both as your relationship, but also even for the kids when you try to just let go of what you can't change and only focus on what you can. It's okay. And then this, ironically, bringing back the bridge, guys, this is something that I would love to speak on because
you may.
Thank you. I have your permission. Because the spouse is the bridge between you and them. And what we mean is not only is your partner, the bio parent, the bridge between you and their kids, but they also are or should be the bridge between you and their ex. And so, again, research backs this up, but and this is another reason why we put this in our relationship and our family, is that the best scenario is usually when the communication and the connection between the exes happens between them. So, because very often what we read in research, and we saw this in our own family, sometimes when we try to take those burdens, I know women, we like to take the burdens off of our men and try to share in this responsibility. And maybe we try to communicate with the spouse, the ex, for them to alleviate that pain. And maybe we're that like mediator. It very often, more than not, doesn't work out well and healthy for the family. And that's because sometimes that ex-spouse, can come in and divide and conquer. And we saw that in our own relationship with our own marriage. We, in the very beginning, I found that Billy's mom was really insecure with me, was really unsure. You guys know our story. We got married before I even met her daughter, before I met Billy. So in the beginning, we would communicate just to get to know one another. And then she saw that, wow, I can communicate with Cheyenne better than I can Kim. They obviously have a really hard shared history and past. So, and in the beginning too, I thought, well, I can relate to her as a woman, and then when I was pregnant, like as a mom, and it was really good for a long time. But then I started to notice that she started to treat me a little bit too much like a friend. She would start to complain about Kim to me, and then was using and abusing, I think, my openness, and was contacting me too much. So we kind of did our own research, and I think sought advice from other families. And we realized at least something that we wanted to instigate or put in our own family was drawing those safe boundaries, and keeping that communication simple, and keeping it between Kim and his ex. So the ex is keeping that communication, because you don't want that ex to come in and divide and conquer this family that you guys are building and that strong foundation you're building.
And in the end, it's my responsibility, right? It's my fault. It's my history, my past. And maybe it's not the good analogy, but I'd rather be the bad cop and have Shai be the good cop than the other way around. That where I'm all good and she's no. Let her be the good person. I'll take the blame. I'll take the heat. I'll fight the battle. Whatever. That's my responsibility. But also step in with the kids. The spouse is a bridge between you and them. Step out with the ex. This is what you would do. You would step out with the ex. But step in, step up.
With the kids.
Yeah? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the end, it's all about expectations, right? What do we actually expect from the ex?
Because we know they all have a lot of expectations on you. But what can you expect? What should you expect?
Expectations, right? And it seems that, of course, our expectations, they do have an influence, an effect on they affect the outcome. Because when we have too high of expectations, we might get disappointed and we might get frustrated. But something that I also learned from my ex is that when we have low expectations, well, they also might be acting out those low expectations. And then we would see the proof of how bad they are, actually. Something to be mindful of. We always try to approach that in the end, she's coming from her best interest. Maybe we don't see it all the time. Maybe we don't understand. But I'm sure to some degree, she's coming from a best interest kind of a position. This one is a double whammy because we do not expect them to change. For instance, stupid example, when they're always late, hey, accept it, they always will be late. But at the same time, also allow people to change. Something that I find very frustrating is that I'm still being treated like I'm the man I was 10 years ago, but I'm not that guy no more. At the same time, I also have to be mindful that she might not be the same person as she was 10 years ago. So yeah, it's a balancing act, right? It's like expect them not to change, but also do leave it openness, because maybe they might surprise us one day.
Well, again, I think it's not placing the expectation. We've seen in some families that when people speak out their expectations, like, well, I'm expecting my spouse or my ex should do this and this. And then we'd ask them, well, did they do this in your marriage? Well, no. Oh, well, right. So it's kind of having those expectations, like knowing where your ex was at, and making sure it doesn't mean that you're letting them off easy either. It just means so you don't get disappointed, you don't get frustrated for no reason. But then also it is that balancing act. It's allowing them to change, meaning if they're trying to make a change for the better, it's like we also have to allow them to show us that they can be better, because we would also want them to do that for you as well.
Treat them like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Is that a biblical thing?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Has to be. Should be in there.
It's the golden rule. I know that.
All right. And of course, we have to pull up boundaries. At some point, to some extent, go to court, have something legal in writing, something that's no discussion is possible. We've only recently gone there, but not even a week in. I feel like this weight has been lifted off my shoulders. There's no more hassling. There's no more negotiating. There's no more fighting.
There's almost zero communication too, which has been nice for you.
Really, you have your life, we have our life, and let's move on with our life and not get pulled back into that quicksand time and time again. The less you give them opportunities to do so, the less you can be dragged in there. So yeah, protect your loved ones, protect yourself, absolutely. Those energy vampires that just want to suck you dry, they want to suck all the goodness out of you. Protect yourself. Something that you're a big fan of.
Anything to do with a plan, baby. I'm a woman with a plan. So guys, this came straight up from research. Again, is most experts. So when we say experts, we're talking about therapists, psychologists, doctors like Dr. Merrill, but creating a parenting plan and sticking to it, and basically it's also kind of like, well, what the heck is a parenting plan? What goes on it? How can I get my ex there? Again, always refer back to mediation or court if you're having a hard time getting your co-parent on a parenting plan. And what it basically is focusing more on the similarities than the differences. And the basics are keep it simple, don't make it personal. And the main thing that should be on parenting plans are things that are very basic, things that hopefully you can attest to, or things that you can come to an agreement on, like the big things in children's lives, like scheduling, when the kids are where with who, financial expenses and schooling and health and those kind of things.
Yeah. But sometimes we can fight over small, stupid things, and we forget that actually we do have more in common than we think or than we feel. So never forget, always, try to not forget that there is a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
But in the end, also decide, how are you going to communicate? Is it through texting? Is it through mails? I believe that in America, there's a specific
There's an app.
that you can choose that logs everything and whatever. Make a choice, stick to it. What more? Follow the guidelines.
So basically the parenting plan, guys, is the guidelines. So it's so easy to come up with a plan and then have yourself or your ex start to go outside the lines a little bit. And that's why we would say, nope, follow it. It's the only way, right? Is to work the plan, is to make the plan work, and then repeat. Go back through it. In the beginning, it may have some rough edges. It may have some things that not everyone completely agrees 100%, but follow it. And just like a muscle, hopefully it'll get easier and stronger as you keep going. Boundaries would just be also limiting interactions. So for instance, if you and your ex have a lot of high conflict, something as simple as drop-offs or picks up, if they don't have to be in person, if your child can safely come out to your car, have them do that. Do something where you don't have to purposely put yourself in a toxic or dramatic situation. It's just not worth it. Also, we've mentioned on I believe on the live last week, I don't know if this is a new term to anyone, parallel parenting. The very simple, basic concept with parallel parenting is that both households have their own set of rules. So the parents of the children still come together in a parenting plan for the basics. Again, for the schooling, for the health, for the scheduling, but anything other than that, like cell phone rules, what movies they're allowed to watch, that in parallel parenting is per household. And the families both decide together that kind of like a you do me, I do you, wait, I do, sorry, you do you, I'll do me. And that's the way we're going to peacefully parent together by doing it separately.
Kids will adapt.
Yeah. And actually what Kim said, research has also proven that, because a lot of families, I think, who don't want to try parallel parenting, there's two reasons. One is that they feel guilty because they feel like we're supposed to co-parent. Co-parent's the only way, it's best for the child. And research does show that co-parenting is often the best, but it's really hard to do co-parenting because it's really easy for one ex to get, one parent to try to outdo or win the other or force the other into it. So as much as parallel parenting is challenging on the child because they have two sets of rules in both houses, it actually has been shown to work a lot better because at least the kids have understood rules and they see, hey, dad is strong in his household here. He's not trying to listen to mom, who's his ex, over here. And it just has more clear sets of rules versus it being very convoluted and confused. Yeah. And so just again, watch out for pitfalls and triggers. Again, that is something that just, I think, needs to have an awareness about it, looking for maybe what pitfalls and triggers that your ex had in your relationship. So watch out for those things also as you co-parent together as well, and make sure that you don't fall into those same traps. And ultimately, at the end, guys, this can be really freaking hard to figure out all of this at the same time all together. So it's important to talk to someone that understands. So I love, AKA us or our group here. In the very beginning, I think all of you guys attested that that's one thing you've loved the most about this course so far, is that we have that like me too feeling, that we're all realizing that we're not in this alone. And that's so important because it's really hard to talk to people who aren't in step families because they can't fully understand. It's no discredit to them. They could try to offer the best advice, but at the end of the day, if they're not in it themselves, they don't quite understand all these dynamics. So when trying to navigate expectations and boundaries and all these things, guys, like, this is what we're here for. And this is why we know that this course is going to live on way beyond these 4 weeks that we spend with you guys.
Absolutely. So tying it all together, what do we want to repeat very gladly one more time? Focus on you. Focus on what you can control. Try to appreciate having a stepchild. How have they benefited your spouse's personality? How are they helping you become the best you that you could never have been if they weren't there?
Mm-hmm.
We bio parents, we have quite a responsibility. So let's shackle that guilt and let's step up and own what we can do, what we have to do. This is our responsibility. It's not my fault, but my kid is here because of me. So yeah, I'm here to make the best out of it for everyone involved. And embrace it. Fall in love with it is the best way to say it. Maybe corny, maybe I like corny. I don't care. Embrace it.
You married me. You sure gotta like corny.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that's about what we wanted to say, what we thought we wanted to share with you.
Yes, yes, yes. At this point, you guys are welcome to unmute yourselves if you'd like. Maybe take a breath. Feel free to get up, shake it off. That was we know a really big lesson because we went through it all. We went through it all. How are you guys feeling at the end of this big talk? Are you like overwhelmed, fired up? What are the feelings?
Shoot away.
Yev's like, I'm out of here. I can't handle this.
I have to take a leak.
Probably. Meryl, any thoughts? Oh, Caitlin?
I mean, I have to say that this whole content was really interesting, like also reassured me some thoughts that I've been having. So mostly about eggs and boundaries. Yeah, there's no secret. But also, yeah, made me realize, also try to understand more like how Caitlin might be feeling when Matthias is with us, when he's around. Like sometimes that when she communicates me some stuff, like I can now understand more where she's coming from. So yeah, I mean it's really good. This topic was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Caitlin, do you feel what Louise said? Like, did you feel when we were talking, did you feel like, oh my gosh, yes, like that's how I feel? Or
You're putting words in her mouth.
No, but she can totally say no. Like,
Can she?
Sorry, help me, teacher. How do I ask this question better?
How did it land?
Okay, sorry. I suck at the question part.
All good. Yeah, there are so many things that were either like, oh, I remember when I was at that place, or like, oh, I'm in that place, like, and sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of all of those stages that still come and go, kind of like what you said, when you think we get past something and then maybe we're not quite. But I mean, there's so many things I don't pick up all the time talking, but like, even, I mean, I'm not sure all the specific losses that Meryl's referring to, but even like, we've been married only like 6 or 7 weeks, and the course was sort of an accidental timing, but it was quick timing. And there's so much also where I was like, okay, like we can't be as flexible with like planning a wedding. We can't even really have a honeymoon right now. Like all of our vacation time is going to like family and like, child summer vacation, and like that's beautiful in one way, and in the other way it's like, I hear a friend talk about like, oh, it's so hard to go visit my boyfriend, and I'm like, well, at least you can go have a vacation together or something, and so I mean, at that loss of the honeymoon phase, like I think we had been married like a week, and I'm like crying. I'm like, our honeymoon phase is over, and all we've done is sit at home. Like I'm like, we had like 2 days where no one bothered us, and it was great. And then like,
oh yeah.
But I mean, yeah. So, but like you said, I think it's just like you accept it, but you also see that maybe it just looks different eventually, or it comes later on. And anyway, but one thing that really struck me was like you accepting your role as a step parent, and like you become in the parental role right away. And like one of the big things that really also struck me was, I think when Kim said, like, how do you work through something if you don't really know what it is you're working through? Because I think, we've been living together for like not even a year. And even though part of me was like, well, I'm not like officially like the stepmom yet, like technically, but again, it's a relationship. It doesn't have to always be like official. And, but I was like, okay, but we're having this huge step that we're taking. And we were engaged, but we were like still waiting on all our marriage documents, and there were all these things. And I remember like talking to a friend, and like we had both extremes. Like I had one friend that was like, oh yeah, like you're like, she was only focused on the marriage, and she's like, yeah, but you're not a mom, so it doesn't matter, like it's okay, like not recognizing that like this massive piece of my life had changed because now my whole schedule, my weekend, my finances, like everything contributing to this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, but on the other hand, like, and then another friend of mine, I was talking to her, and I just was like so overwhelmed with so many changes, and I was just like on the verge of tears all the time because I was just overwhelmed. And she was like, well, sweetie, you basically are a new mom. And I just like started crying because she's like, sure, like you didn't give birth, like you're not like going through the physical stuff, but like everything about your life now, like basically just became an instant mom. Like, of course you don't know how to handle your life at the moment, or your schedule, or your feelings, and in some way that was so relieving because I'm like, wow, you just acknowledged this thing in a way that I don't really know how to process, but like it was so relieving to be like, you're right, there's so much happening that I don't even know how to process yet. And there's still times where, like, if we have a hard day, or if it's like right before or right after Matthias is here, like sometimes I'm like, I'm feeling something and I don't really know why, and I can't explain it. And he's sort of like, okay. And I'm just like, I don't know. So yeah, I think I'm rambling at this point, but
Okay.
I think everything was just like, yes, that's how I have felt, or that's how I feel. And also very much like affirming the fact that like he is who he is because he's a dad. And I remember, my family's very open because we are also a blended family. And I remember my grandma, like the sweetest old lady, she's like, well, you'll never have to question what kind of father he is because you already see that, And I'm like, how cool is that? Like, there's no surprises in regards to like, the father side of things. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, I could probably keep going, but I think those were the biggest things that, of course, like the affirmation of the boundaries, because I think it's easy to think, oh, we should be like the nice people, or we need to be the flexible ones, or we need to be the ones that like, but then you pay for it and you're like, why am I driving myself into the ground for nothing,
It's a bottomless pit.
Yeah. And like you said, like the children will see the true colors eventually. We don't need to contribute to that confusion.
Exactly.
Well said.
So
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Who wants to?
Angela.
But I have a question and a comment.
Go for it.
So my question is to Caitlin, being that you were our stepdaughter, and from your experience, we keep hearing and saying that children will eventually see the true colors. I mean, I don't know from your past if that was ever the case, or if you, like, when you got older, if you recognized things for what they really were, or if you ever had a high conflict, one home and not the other. So curious.
Can I say something?
you're trying to answer for me?
No. It's just because it is fun. It is funny, this thing, because when we went into this relationship, I had a lot of guilt also, how my son would feel and how we'd handle things. And I made the choice not to talk bad about his mom, like in front of him. And the first thing that she told me was that, yeah, don't worry about it, because Matthias is gonna grow up and he's gonna see the truth by himself. He's gonna recognize that. He's gonna see you for who you are, and he's gonna recognize what his mom has been doing, and he's gonna have his own opinion. He's gonna have his own, like he's gonna see also everything that I have been doing for him. So I don't have to feel like, that I'm doing a bad job as a parent or as a dad, because that's what I was most afraid of, that I'm being like a bad dad. So continue, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because my dad was very open about like his experience with my mom and his perception of my mom, which at the time as a child kind of confirmed a lot of the things I was feeling. My mom was very like quiet, like she would not really talk about him, but she would, like, it was very passive aggressive kind of. And the thing is that her family members were very blunt about their feelings, very negative, but she wouldn't tell them to stop. So like it put my sister and I in very awkward situations. Sometimes we're like sitting there and our uncle is like batting our dad and we can't like get away with it. And so, but in some way, you know, as my sister and I have gotten older and my sister and I are very close, like we've realized like, okay, dad really overshared with us and dad really utilized us sometimes as like a counsel, like even though we were kids, like it was sort of like it was too much, which put a lot of weight on us to want to make sure he was always okay. And I think our mom thought she was protecting us, but on the other hand, we heard one side of the story, and still to this day, and it's been really interesting because even this course has made me reflect a lot on things from the past that I didn't think I'd feel, and even recognize, like before it was kind of like my point person was like, oh, my parents will understand this, and I've only recently been like, I need to tell them like, please don't talk to me about that anymore because I was a child. It's not fair. I don't know what's real. Like I don't know what's fair and what's real. And I was like pretty blunt about that with my mom even a few weeks ago. I'm like, oh, I feel bad. But on the other hand, like that's maybe not very encouraging for you guys. But all that to say that I think it might not be when they're 16, it might not be when they're 20, but when they really grow up and you really see your parents as people, because I think it takes a while to see your parents like, oh, they're also human. Instead of just like the one that takes care of me. I think I did realize I'm like, okay, so a lot of the things that I struggled with my mom are things I still struggle with my mom, which is just because it's part of her personality, you know, or like what maybe I thought was just normal with my dad. And then here I am still as an adult, like, oh, why is dad still like struggling with that? It's like, okay, well, yeah, because it's part of who he is or his weaknesses, his insecurities. And so I do think that you start to look at them more as like people, and you start to realize that, oh, gotta plug the computer in. You start to realize where is the truth in what you were seeing or what the other parent was saying, you know, like I don't know if that answers your question very well, Angela, but I do think that I've seen a lot of what I heard or what maybe could have, or what could have been the problem. I think I have seen now that I'm older, because it's like, you know, my dad, one of the things my dad used to say is like, your mom refused to change. She didn't want to communicate. She wanted it her way or the highway. And like, that was it. And that's very much my mom. She refuses, she hates change. She's lived like in the same 2-mile square radius her whole life. And she's worked at the same job for like 40 years. So it's like, she's very like, this is how it is. I don't go out of the bubble. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it's like, it's your problem to fix it. So, I mean, that's just an example. But I think that, you know, what I heard maybe one person say, oh, this is what one of her struggles. And then I see that kind of affirmed, even though there's always going to be kind of black holes, because it's hard when you're taking, like you said, it might not be the truth, but it's their truth or it's their perception. So to some degree, kids may never really want to know because it's hard to put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
I think that's also something that's kind of hard to accept. I know I have told Luis, like, there will be opportunities for conversation, but don't expect that your son will someday want any and all information and will believe it all. Like, there's also going to be his boundaries that come up too, which might be hard at times to accept as the parent when you really want to be like, but this is what it is, you know? I don't know if that really helped at all.
No, it does. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can I quickly add to, oh, sorry.
No,
Can I quickly, I just want to quickly add to it. And thank you, Caitlin. You are very much put on the spotlight here because you are the only one that was a stepchild in a blended family. But Angela, the one thing I just want to share, and actually with all of you guys, is in our experience, Kim's taught me this well, I think, because I very often sometimes feel that desire to, seek truth and justice and doesn't, I want Billy to know, like, no, like, that's not true about us and like what your mom is doing. Where Kim has shown me that there is a balance where you don't have to slander the parent, but when there are opportunities, when your child comes to you and shares something with you about their parent, I think there's a way that without slandering the parent, but you can also very much listen to them and affirm what they're saying. You guys know a little bit of our situation that Billy came to live here with us because her mom was struggling with drinking and a lot of other just, I think, emotional, mental instability and conditions. So I think there were times this year that she came to us and opened up and was almost like, wow, Dad, I can understand why you and Mom weren't together anymore, like why you guys didn't work. And wow, she does this to me. So we kind of let her come to her own conclusions. And then we openly talked about it, still without slandering, but almost confirmed, like I think you confirmed, like I understand where you're coming from. But yeah, you never approached Billy with it. You kind of just let her, when it was those opportunities, those golden opportunities, you kind of shared.
Yeah, she started to ask questions in that regard.
Yeah.
And one other thing I would just say is, like, I 100% agree with the don't slander in front of the kids. As hard as it is, I think, I don't know if you remember, like, before I even knew that we were going to be this serious, I think that even before I met his son, I told him, please never, ever speak poorly of his mother in front of him because it's so damaging to the children. And as much as you think you're being insightful, it puts the kid that much more in the middle. And it's really maybe hard for the parent to hold the tongue, but the child is confused already, and then they're going to be confused. So,
thank you.
But like Cheyenne just said, and I guess part of the answer for you too, Angela, is that it might not necessarily be that the child understands your story, but they will understand based on then how the parent treats them as they get older.
Yeah.
Those same characteristics that align maybe with conflict or tensions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have something else you wanted to add, Angela?
And then I just kind of had like a question about a little bit more about boundaries on the X and parallel parenting and having like rules in your own home. I don't know if we can dive into that more deeper later or on the women's chat, but like I struggle with different things. A perfect example, the oldest has a phone that's supposed to be a phone for all three of them, so parents can communicate to them from both homes. Since the beginning, it was almost like an instant fight, an argument. If Justin tried to parent her, put rules on the phone, say, it gets charged upstairs, or I get to look at it, and it always comes down to, well, mom bought this phone for me, so you can't touch it. You can't parent it. And so I don't know, struggle with things like that. And it's gone on for so long that it's almost like not worth the fight anymore. But so yeah, just trying to, I guess, wanting more information on parallel parenting and how to put boundaries from my end towards the ex, and how to do that properly without the moment I feel like we tell her we're parallel parenting, that it's going to be twisted and manipulated worse than that we were not co-parenting, and oh well, now they've given up and now they're parallel parenting, and it's like no matter what we do, it's going to be twisted and manipulated and reported to the girls.
You know that in advance. Yeah, you know that in advance.
Yeah.
You know that's what will happen.
I think, Angela, we'll go deeper into this week. I've jotted down some of your questions, and just because of time right now, we can talk about it more in the WhatsApp group, but also on Saturday, because that's where the real Q&A, will go on. I want to give Meryl and Yev a chance to just respond a little bit to the lesson tonight. But absolutely, don't feel like this won't get answered, because it is multi-level, and I know there's, I think, things that we can help you guys constructively work through, but we'll definitely get that to you when we can spend more time specifically on that.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Of course.
Real quickly, I'd say less is more. Don't feel like you have to, you owe them no explanation. The less you can share, the better. Save your energy, use it where you can. That's what I would say immediately. You do not owe her anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And last but not least, Meryl and Evgeny, here you guys go. You've had some time to think.
Once again, I'm so glad you guys made it happen.
I know,
today.
total surprise.
You
We'll
worked.
see you guys again next week too.
Mm-hmm.
We like to finish strong.
I love
Yes,
it.
sir. I like that a lot. How was tonight for you guys to have a live experience?
Yeah, I thought like the one thing that stuck with me that I feel like for me it's like a work in progress, and I don't know if like maybe it hit Caitlin the same way, and definitely like aside Caitlin, like a lot of things you said like resonated with me. Like he and I are just dating, but I feel like I am kind of jumping into this like stepmom, or my name is Mare, like a stepmare kind of role, but like without the connection, and sometimes experiencing. Thank you. Well, like sometimes feeling like not that there isn't that connection just yet, but there's like downright like rejection sometimes. But like in, I don't know, like in that still trying to fit it. So like I struggle with that too. And but something that hit me that I was just like, it took a minute. I was like, wow, it's a lot of pressure. Was that like the really the step parent, stepchild relationship, like the dynamic is contingent on that. And it all has to do like with your attitude. And I was just like, I agree. But like, I was like, that feels like a lot of pressure, like for that person, you know what I mean? Like it's all about like your attitude, and like it's like I feel like for me, like that is such a work in progress, because like it is just like it's not like, oh great, like I'm gonna just feel like this today. Like it, I don't know if like that even takes like months or years to develop, but yeah, like when I like read that slide, I'm like, that sounds like a lot of pressure, and it's just like I wish it was like an overnight fix, but like. Obviously we've been together for a while. Like it isn't like it's something I'm like actively working on every day and trying to so like the material help, like trying to like shift my perspective, and that's been really hard. Like yes, like seeing these children as a bonus, or like I would say like I'm grieving losses, like not being like Yev's first wife, or his not the first wedding, it's not the first kid, or like his children recently met my parents, and it's like, you know what I mean, like sharing a child with my parents aren't mine. So all these things, like I am I would say, I don't know, straight up like grieving, and like it's really hard. So yes, that's my 2 cents.
No, it's the reality. It is something that we couldn't emphasize enough, that it's a marathon or versus a sprint, and it's easy to say, a mindset. But you think about another huge mindset shift that people always, I think you hear talked about, is with health. And it's something that you can't just like lose weight or become healthier like overnight. It's something that it does take time. And I used to have this phrase, I'd say, you know, fake it till you make it. But I was like, I hate that, because I don't want to fake something. So it's almost like faith it till you make it. Like, have the faith that even on this sucky day when you're not enjoying it, have the faith that tomorrow it'll be better. You know, tomorrow it'll be just a little bit better. And with your grieving season, you know, Meryl, I don't know if you've ever lost anyone close to you. I really haven't lost anyone close to me like death, but I know Kim losing his father at 18. I mean, you can probably testify that when you're grieving something, it takes time and it comes in seasons. Yeah. So just meaning like, give yourself that grace. Like, you are grieving these things you've probably held true to yourself since you were a little girl, and you're also having to grieve them all at once. You know, it's like, and it's no discredit to Yev. I mean, it is the package that he has, and he is adding a lot to your life. But there are some realities that you know, that he's, I'm sure, also having to grieve. You know, I know Kim himself has said, like, baby, I believe me, nothing could replace my daughter.
You
Are you
froze. You said nothing.
Sorry.
Nothing could replace my, and then it was.
Nothing could replace, Kim has said nothing could replace Billy, but of course, like, at the end of the day, do I wish that you were my first and only? Absolutely. Do I wish Billy was ours together? Yes, but I can't change any of that. So all we can do is try to find each other and find each other's best in this difficult situation, and continue to be open and realistic with each other, but continue to seek the good in the challenging situation. So thank you. Yev, is there anything you wanted to share about tonight?
One, I'm looking forward to the Rad Dads chats. Chat's coming. No, I think it was like, I think there's just moments where, like, there's certain, I guess, maybe truths or realities that it's like I would love to be like, oh, hey, man, like, I could do that for you, you know? And it's just like, I think it comes back to, and I don't know if it's like, if it's a personality, but just that desire to be like, I think sometimes the hardest thing in our relationship is acknowledging or validating experience, and then like, and in that same moment pausing to go, there is absolutely nothing that I can do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's just really hard. And I just kind of kept coming back to that idea as we were talking today about, you know, like step parenting, or that role as stepping into being this authority figure, and like just kind of, you know, trying to think about what that would feel like or be like, and realizing that in a lot of these things, you know, there's nothing I can do to fix it per se, and that all you sometimes do is just support. Right, all I can do is support Mary in that, and how sometimes that like just feels insufficient. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's challenging in moments, like, again, like we had a really like wonderful weekend with his daughters, but for me, just like a lot of emotional moments. So like for the time like Sunday, I feel like my heart had stretched so wide that like it was just like, I don't know, like it was falling. I was just like, it was hurting at that point. And then like, yeah, he had his daughter's birthday, and I could just tell like, yeah, I was having a great time. All of us were together having a good time. Like I was having a good time, but like at the same time, I was like experiencing this like grief. So I'm like, who do I tell? Like, I don't want to tell. Yeah, like he's enjoying himself. Like this is a beautiful time for him. Like it is still a beautiful time for me, but it's so like, yeah, like, and like it's not, or it's sad, or it's like not melancholy, but like it's both. It's bittersweet, I guess. So like I can't really tell. Yeah, like who can I tell? Like, I'm on the verge of tears. Like, but I remember. Sorry, last kind of comment about what a tool that was helpful. Again, Rachel Rachel Dunn. She's a spiritual stepmom on Instagram. But I was like messaging her and I was like, I'm so sad. And like there was like 45 minutes left until their mom was coming, and she's very punctual. So she was going to be there at 6. So we had like literally like 20 or 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm withdrawn, like emotionally, like I can't take any more emotions. Like I find myself like sitting in the corner and I'm like, oh, like, what do I do? And she was like, Meryl, retrain your brain. She's like, do the opposite. She's like, just go sit next to those kids and tell them like how you want to play with them. And you're so glad to spend time with them. She's like, even if you're feeling like the opposite, she's like, retrain your brain, like start doing that. So like in that moment, I was like, oh, it's so hard, but like I did do that. So like, I don't know, it's all about like, I don't know, you're like retraining your, well, kind of fake it till you make it, faith it. Yes, but it's like a total like reshaping like of your brain, and just like the fear and the sadness, like it's okay, it's not you, like I don't know, there's just like a lot of things, but yes, like it's so I don't know, there's just a lot of emotions,
and that's
and
okay.
I'm Italian, so I feel every single one. Yeah.
It is. It's very confronting because you're like, holy crap, have I felt all these emotions all at once before? And it can feel like a bucket, like dumped over you. And it can be really challenging. And something you reminded me of, Meryl, is that with something I find as a challenge as a stepmom is it's just like when you, in the good positive way, is when the kids say do something bad or they get in trouble, you're not to blame, which is kind of the great thing about step parenting. But the other side of it is you don't get to fully celebrate their wins and their successes or like their birthdays. It's like you're not this mother that brought them into the world, and you're not the one that they're saying, mommy, look at this. Like, look, so it is very emotional. And I just want to validate that.
Even if I was like, let's just say we got there and they were like, we were just like obsessed with each other. I have the same birthday as his ex. So like, let's say I wanted them like for Mother's Day or my birthday, like you just, it's so weird.
Kim, statistically improbable. But...
No, it's actually like the math. I've seen it. Like, it's not that big of like, it's not like a shock, but like I mean, like it's kind of funny, but yeah, we're born.
At least you guys don't have the same first name. Maybe that would be a little more awkward.
That would be
95 people, in case anyone is curious. That is the number of people that need to be.
Yeah, it's not that big of a number.
Random strangers that need to be in a room until really you have the same birthday.
The math isn't that like.
Okay. No, it's the numbers.
And Meryl, I have a quick question. How did you feel at the end after you went and just, surrendered and put yourself around the girls? Like, how did you feel afterwards?
I felt good, like to, again, like have those few extra minutes with them. But like for me, like it was a small victory. Cause like old Meryl would have been like, like I need to go do something else. Like, anything else, like I just can't hear, like I'm like triggered, I'm emotional, like I actually like can't even, it's an American thing, I can't even, but no, like I was like proud, it was like a small victory, like to be able to do that, like that to me showed growth. They're like not word vomiting on Yev, like which old Meryl would have just like just uncensored, like this is how I'm feeling, and like I have done that. Sorry, babe. I did not do that this weekend. So I'm like, that is another like small victory.
That's a head nod of people have done that too, baby.
Yes, sir.
And Meryl,
like Kim just like drops his hand. It's like, yes, been there, done that.
Yes, he still does.
Sir.
He still does. And Meryl, what I hear there then is not just one win. I hear 2 wins, girl. So
a couple of wins.
Really, even if you need to, this may, again, we are one of the corniest couples you guys will probably hear from, but like, even if you guys need to create like a win notebook, like I write myself notes sometimes all the time, or I mean, if you guys, most of you've connected with me on Instagram, sometimes where I get these ideas or from things I like have to just write out. So even if Meryl, if it helps you mentally to focus on the positive and writing down like the littlest, tiniest wins, or put them in the Facebook group. Like that's what we want that Facebook group to be for, because I guarantee one of us other, especially stepmoms, has been like, holy crap, either yes, I had that, or like, whoa, I had that and I needed to see that's a win. Because we can so often focus so much on our losses that like, I think we can really we can like build each other's wins on top of each other.
That's a really good idea.
I have those every once in a while.
Well, yeah, it's hard. And so like I was thinking the content too, like I feel like I'm generally, he might roll his eyes, generally even keel, like I am a doctor. So you think like I'm, like I'm intelligent, I am calm, I can hold it together. But in certain situations, like it took this situation, like meeting the divorced dad to like realize like I get like so triggered and it's almost like out of body. Like who is that person? Like yelling, like angry. I like had a clothes, like I think I almost like ripped like something like a button off my dress. Like it was like palpable anger. And I was like, like I didn't know I was capable of that. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like it took this situation to be like, holy crap, like that's something deep in me that like can be so triggered that like, I don't know, like, right, like seeing it from the right perspective, I can work on it now, that it's not going to happen like 4 years from now, like with a patient or at work or something else. Like I know it's there and can work on it now. But yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So good job, Yev, for bringing out the best woman in her and the best doctor that she can be. But something I feel like what's awesome is
I don't think she was getting there shy, but all right.
I like to optimize the shoot out of anything. I can see like any bad situation. I'm like, oh, your dog was hit on the side of the road. Well, no, I don't know. I can always think of something positive, but
It was quick.
Sorry, too soon. But no, something I want to emphasize there though, Meryl, that you said, what is so impactful and so great, like you said, at least it's something you don't have to work out on a patient. What I love is that the beauty of, I feel like, how God designed family is that we get to work out our hardest, maybe most unattractive qualities, the things that we don't like ourselves out the most, in a idealistic and unconditional loving atmosphere. So it's like when you're working out the like ugliest parts of yourself, I know I have seen the ugliest parts of myself come out in our marriage. I'm also doing it with the person that I can trust the most, that I can rely on the most, that I know that's gonna love me through it. So it's like, what better of a space and a place to do that with is with this guy right here. So
That's so sweet.
It makes me really grateful for you. But I had really ugly moments, and just to like realizing we're still here. Like even in moments when I didn't see the relationship going forward, like he did.
I'm like a wart. You don't see it, but then it's there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She's on a t-shirt. I love it. Guys. Man, this has been awesome tonight. We officially have kept you guys for about 2.5 hours, but I think it was 2.5 hours very well spent. We're very proud of you guys because we know this is like the stuff people don't talk about. So we're very proud of you guys for coming here, literally showing up, but then also opening up your hearts and stuff. And so, yeah, let's keep this going, and we'll all come back together on Saturday after it's marinated a little bit, after we've lived some more life. Maybe we'll have new scenarios to talk about on Saturday, but we'll come back together and do this all again.
Good.
Love that.
Anything else?
That's good, babe.
Can't wait.
By the way, Angela, you're looking fierce today. Oh my gosh. When I saw her get on the camera, I was like, who is this? Like, good job, girl.
You're a funny show.
Just had to call it out. Just calling out what I see, girl.
Never a liar.
Yeah.
Never a liar, though.
Never. All right, guys. Well, have a beautiful night in Austria and a beautiful day back in the States. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Hey, live it up. Enjoy that time together, and we'll reach out to you guys through the Facebook group tomorrow to instigate some more convo, and then we'll chat with everyone again on Saturday.
All right. See you again.
All right.
Good to see y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.